Hello and good morning. It's Wednesday of week 8 and we're back with more news and more entertainment.
Yes, hello. We are here in our second week of the FTO elections. As you may have noticed, campaigns for LUSU FTOs are coming to a close, with today being the beginning of voting.
This week we'll be joined by Daniel Snick to discuss the news headlines, and we'll be bringing you the weather with Natasha and Sophie.
It's 11 o'clock and you're watching Good Morning Lancaster. I'm Benjamin Kay.
Now it's exciting times this week in LUSU as of this morning ballots are open for the elections of next year's full-time officers. These people will be the figureheads within LUSU and represent students on issues from boilers failing to rent and fee rises.
Yes, that's right. We've seen some great and some not so great campaigns going on. Some positions have seen some friendly rivalry and other positions have seen some serious and rigorous grillings on policy proposals.
Yes, some candidates really have been grilled from all sides, and fair play to them, they're still standing strong, aren't they? We decided to go out and find out just how many people really are following these elections. Here's Anna Wang with Questions on the Spine.
Hello and welcome to Questions on the Spine. So, did you watch the hustings this weekend?
Unfortunately I didn't. I went home this weekend.
No, I wasn't there.
I was presenting it, so yes, I did.
No, I did not, no.
Did you watch the hustings this past weekend?
No, I didn't.
No, because I have essays to write, so I didn't have time.
And I didn't because I was at an all-day rehearsal for West Side Story, but I was following on Twitter. But I don't think I really got the full picture of what was going on exactly.
Did any of you guys watch the hustings that happened this past weekend?
No.
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 Did you watch the hustings that happened this past weekend?
I did.
Did you watch the hustings that happened this past weekend?
I tuned in for a little bit, but I had work to do.
Do you know who you'll be voting for in the upcoming elections without naming names?
Yeah, I think I've got a pretty good idea.
No.
Without naming names, do you know who you'll be voting for in the FTO elections?
No.
No. Sorry.
Without naming names, do you know who you'll be voting for in the FTO elections?
Kind of, yeah. I have a few candidates in mind. Other ones, I'd have to read the manifest. So I haven't read through all of them, to be honest.
Some of the positions, and some of the positions, particularly the president one, I found the host was very useful helping me decide.
I think for, most of the roles, yeah.
Yeah, for most of the roles, I'm pretty sure who I'm voting for.
No, I haven't really looked at it, no.
Without naming names, do you know who you'll be voting for in the FTO elections?
Some of them, yes.
The Kraken, definitely.
In a fight, or which one would I rather take on?
Just which one do you think is better generally?
The Kraken.
Godzilla or the Kraken?
Kraken.
Godzilla or the Kraken?
Godzilla?
I go with the Kraken.
Godzilla.
The Kraken or Godzilla?
Godzilla.
The Kraken or Godzilla?
Godzilla.
Godzilla. Godzilla.
And that was Questions on the Spine with Anna Wang. Now it's time for the news. Voting is now open for LUSU's 6 full-time officer positions, along with 6 other cross-campus officer and JCR positions. The elections will determine which of the 33 candidates will run the Students' Union over the coming academic year. So far, the elections have seen the Spine covered in campaign posters and the nominees thoroughly questioned by student media, alongside regular students endorsing their favourite candidates on social media. Also, as a part of the campaigns, LUSU held the annual hustings event in Barkhouse Farm on Sunday, where the candidates took to the stage to answer questions from the student body. Voting for all positions, including the union's first ever CCO for socio-economic equality, closes at 4 today on Friday.
The Roses tournament between Lancaster and York is just under 2 months away, and Lancaster University has prepared by giving extra funding to 23 of its sports clubs. This year's tournament is being opened in York by former England football manager Roy Hodgson. The tournament is shaping up to be a close one. Lancaster's nationally recognised teams are in a higher league than York's, but have lost every fixture against York so far this year. Similarly, Lancaster is just 1 win behind York in the overall tally, but has won an away Roses in 30 years.
Lancashire County Council is having to find savings of more than £100 million over the coming year due to a fresh round of cuts from central government. Much of the savings is expected to come from the social care budget. The council will also increase council tax by 2% and has indicated that selling buildings will be an option. The news comes after the NHS Foundation Trust administering the Royal Lancaster Infirmary declared its own deficit of £26.3 million, and after Lancashire Constabulary was forced to cut its forensic science budget by a third. In total, providing there are no further cuts, the council must find savings worth £152 million by 2018.
Lancaster City Council is preparing to decide whether fracking from firm Quadrilla can test gas flows at 2 new sites near Preston. Council planners recommended refusing the proposal in January, but Quadrilla requested that the City Council's final decision be delayed until week 2 of summer term. On Wednesday, the County Council also rejected a separate request by Quadrilla for a new test site near Singleton and demanded that the government department DEFRA release a 2014 report on fracking in full. In a document leaked to Friends of the Earth, Chancellor George Osborne described fracking as a personal priority and urged ministers to fast-track the approval of local work by Quadrilla.
Leica has launched its new cultural passport scheme, giving Lancaster students the chance to attend local arts events for free. Leica has compared the passport to a coffee loyalty card. If you go to 6 of any of the arts events run by Live at Leica, Lancaster museums, the Dukes or LUSU, including campus societies such as Lou Dance and Take Two Cinema, and collect stamps from each event, then you are eligible for a free ticket to an arts event of your choice. Leica's next big event is the installation ceremony of Chancellor Alan Milburn later today.
On Tuesday, LUSU hosts its general election question time debate in partnership with the University of Cumbria Students' Union. The debate starts at 6 p.m. in Lancaster Town Hall, and all the parliamentary candidates for the Lancaster constituency are invited. Places in the hall are limited, so be sure to book your ticket early on the LUSU website.
We're now joined by Daniel Snape, Scan Comment Editor. Daniel, welcome to the show.
I can't comment on which candidates I think will come out on top, of course, that would be very unfair, but I think this time we're going to see a slightly bigger turnout than usual because there are just so many candidates running.
Yeah.
Many more than in previous years. Yeah. This means, of course, in every election you get a lot of voting from societies, voting as blocks. You get the undecided students who just tick the boxes depending on how they feel on the morning they pick up the email. But there will be a lot of students this time who are friends of the candidates. And they will be putting in their votes this time and I think adding to the voter turnout overall.
So there are more candidates. Do you think this reflects a higher sort of involvement from the student body?
There are a couple of ways of looking at it really. On the one hand, it could indicate that students are interested in politics and they like what's going on campus and they want to be part of it. On the other hand, it could indicate that a lot of students really don't like what's going on. They want to implement change. They want to bring their own perspective to student politics here at Lancaster and they want to do things their own way. And either way, really, it's a good thing for LUSU. It shows that students are involved in politics, at least.
Yeah. Moving on to Roses. How do Lancaster plan to win this year's Roses?
One of the things the university has been implementing in its plan for Roses is extra funding for 23 of the sports societies on campus for fitness training, for coaching, that sort of thing. But money can only really go so far. The other key factor is morale. Samuel Ruxar, the VP for Activities, said himself, it's very difficult to get support, moral support, when you're on the other side of the Pennines, because this is going to be an away Roses. So one of the things the university really needs to do and has promised to do is capture some of the moral support we had at Roses last year, the anniversary home game, fantastic support that time around,
Yeah,
and see if we
really
can
was.
sort of export some of it to the York campus.
I mean, they're on a high really after last year's win. Don't you think this will kind of help them through?
You would think so, but there tends to be a pattern. It seems that I think it's 75% of the time the result of a game is determined by where it's being played. If it's played at York, York wins. If it's played at Lancaster, Lancaster wins. At least 75% of the time, I think. So let's not get ahead of ourselves.
And who can go over to Roses? I mean, can anyone attend from Lancaster?
I mean, technically anyone
Presume.
can go, but not anyone can go and have the travel paid for. There will be people from student media who get to go. There will be people, of course, who are competing who get to go, and that will be sponsored by LUSU and the university this time around. But I mean, technically speaking, any student could go of their own accord.
So we need to get as many Lancastrians as you right there
That's
across over in York. And how's York responding?
It's hard to say, really. They're kind of keeping it under wraps.
I've actually heard of some cards being sent to the LUSU FTOs,
Right.
saying just little like banter cards from them,
Wow.
just to get it geared up a little bit.
Do a bit of competition, I think.
Yeah.
That
Well,
far in advance.
one of the really good indicators is the fact that they booked Roy Hodgson to do the openings.
Yeah.
They had asked David Beckham and I think Rio Ferdinand or some other famous footballer. I'm not great with footballers, but this shows that they've got a dedication to it and they're prepared to splash out this time. So LUSU's and the university's funding may be matched by York on this occasion.
Okay, so it was almost spurred on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What are Lancaster's chances of winning this time around?
Again, it's going to be a very close run thing. I mean, the best way of looking at it is through the BUCS leagues. BUCS is the British Universities and Colleges Sports Alliance, and all of the teams at Lancaster and York that are recognised by this institution get ranked. And so far there have been six matches between Lancaster and York. Unfortunately, Lancaster has lost all of them. And this puts it 9 points behind York on the league. But interestingly, there are more teams from Lancaster in the Premier League for BUCS than they are from York. So it could be a very close run thing, I think.
Well, let's hope so. We want it to be a
Yes.
tight competition, don't we?
We want it to win.
Yes.
Moving on to fracking, what is the proposal from Quadrilla?
So this has been there's been a lot of debate about this, of course. People have been trying to explain what fracking is a lot recently, and in Lancashire it seems we are really where the future of fracking in Britain is going to be decided. Quadrilla has asked the City Council if they can start up 2 new test sites, roughly between Preston and Liverpool, which is about 14 miles from campus. And this is after, in 2013, Quadrilla pulled out of the region altogether when it was found that they were the probable cause of 2 tremors.
Oh,
So they're trying to start up operations again.
so should the council really be approving this?
There are pros and cons. I mean, on the one hand, fracking in the UK could bring energy security. It could bring jobs to the region. I personally think it's not going to lower the price of gas that much because the North Sea oil pipes that connect us to the continent have a switch called forward flow, and they can be thrown into reverse, and all the gas we produce can be exported to the continent to undercut the market there. So it doesn't seem prices here will
But
decrease
it's a
that much.
long-term factor, isn't it?
I
they
mean,
talk about.
yes, and this is why the central government has shown so much interest in it, and particularly now that Russia is threatening to cut off the gas of Europe if we don't pay our dues in advance. It's going to be a lifeline for the UK in the global market.
Yeah. Is it true that the government are taking a stance on this?
Yes, yeah, they do have a lot of interest in this now, and there's been a document leaked to Friends of the Earth and The Guardian from the Chancellor. It's a letter to his ministers in which he demands rapid progress in making sure these proposals from Quadrilla go through. And there's a second part of this, which is part of this letter. It's a part about a new proposal they have to give the Communities Secretary, Eric Pickles, more power to overrule local councils and things like this. So we could see in the future the central government deciding whether Quadrilla fracks here and not the local council.
It'll be interesting to see how that one develops over time, I think. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Daniel. We'll now be taking a look at a short clip that explains how the voting system in LUSU works.
It is called single transferable vote, and although initially not what many people are used to, it's very good at ensuring people have their views represented, and means that unlike government elections, you do not have to vote tactically, but instead vote in an order of preference. This video will explain more.
I'm here to guide you through the single transferable voting system that we use during LUSU elections. We use preferential voting, so you just need to vote in the order of your favourite candidates. And remember, if you're not happy with any candidates, you can vote for Ron to reopen nominations and run the election again. In this election, Inky is my favourite candidate, so I'll vote them number 1. Then Pinky number 2, Ron number 3, and then, sorry Blinky, but you're number 4. It's as simple as that. Now let's see how we find a winner. A winner is found if they have over 50% of the votes. In the first round of voting, we received 2,870 votes, so the quota is calculated at 1,436. We can see that no candidates have reached this, so Ron, having the least amount of votes, gets eliminated. If Ron was your first choice, your second choices are now counted. These votes are distributed to the remaining candidates. The votes and quota are recalculated moving into the second round. Again, with no candidates reaching the quota. Pinky is eliminated due to having the least amount of votes. We now do the same with Pinky's votes and distribute your votes to the next available preference to the remaining candidates. Moving into the final round, the votes and quota are recalculated. We can see that although Blinky was leading from the start, a greater number of voters preferred Inky. Inky, being the preferred candidate for the majority of voters, reaches 1,430 votes, meaning they have met the quota and is elected. So there you have it. Hopefully now you know a bit more about the STV voting system we use at LUSU. For more information, you can always head over to lusu.co.uk/elections and visit our Facebook and Twitter pages.
That's really interesting. It's great to know that not even your first choice doesn't get elected. Your second choice or third choice counts.
I know, it's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It's something that explains it really well, I think. That
yeah,
video.
it's really clear, and I like how it breaks it down, and just because, okay, that might be your favourite candidate and maybe nobody else likes him, but your voice still counts because it passes down, so it doesn't go to waste.
And I don't know if you noticed, well you probably did, but while we were streaming the hustings on Sunday, it actually started to snow, didn't it?
I did see that, and did you see Twitter? It just exploded with tweets.
It did. There's all sorts on Twitter.
Yeah, it caused a bit of a ruckus during the hustings actually in the background.
Yeah, a distraction, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, to tell us what's happening with the weather for the next few days, here's Natasha and Sophie.
Good morning. So after a slightly snowy weekend, today we have light showers with a high of 7 and a low of 2. As we look on to the rest of the week in Lancaster, there's going to be some sunny and cloudy skies with some really strong gale force winds, so make sure that you bring your hair ties to lectures and to sugar for that matter. As we look on to the weekend,
there's going to be slight rain on Saturday, but on Sunday it's going to get a lot heavier.
So you might want to stay in bed. But this week the sun is still prominent, so make sure that you go down to those LUSU elections. Back to the studio, Jess and Ben.
Well, it looks like that snow was just a one-off.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd like to see more snow.
No, it's March. Snow is done now. It's looking forward to summer.
True. And it's not long until Campus Fest, and I'm guessing they won't want the snow for that, so they'll want the sun. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today, but here's a quick look at what's coming up on campus this week. Tonight's Pendle Blitz the Bar.
And if you fancy more live music, Pendle Live is on tomorrow evening. And
Lonsdale is also holding an Arabian bar night tomorrow.
Friday sees the closure of FTO elections, and the results will be held at Barker Host Farm at 8 o'clock.
Also, Friday Fury begins at 7 p.m, titled The Road to Roses. It's now 51 days until the competition starts, and here we just can't wait.
No, not at all. Saturday sees the Battle of the Bands final in the Sugar House at 10:30 p.m, and we will see acts such as Matt Baker, The Martyrs and BC 555 playing the headline, playing late into the morning.
And finally, please remember to register to vote to have your say in the May general elections.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time with more Good Morning Lancaster.
Bye.
Bye.